Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Audio Drive X podcast. I decided to change it up today and do a album review on an album that just came out this past couple weeks, and that's going to be Shinedown's 8th studio album called 8. But before we get started, just a reminder to follow along on Instagram, YouTube, and just as of today, TikTok. So make sure to follow there. And yeah. So let's get started with this album review. Shinedown's 8th studio album, called 8, is a massive 18-track sonic journey. It balances the theatrical, experimental production of Eric bass with the raw, arena-shaking choruses and the emotional vulnerability that Brent Smith has championed for over 2 decades. So, let's start with track 1, which is called At the Bottom. This is a massive cinematic opener that takes a page out of the classic Queen playbook. It starts quietly with an Elton John-style piano melody before exploding into a soaring, gothic hard rock arrangement. It's the perfect theatrical curtain raiser for an album of this scale. Track number 2 is the album's lead single called Dance Kid Dance. This song shifts gears instantly into a blistering, heavy, up-tempo thumper. It features spiky dynamics, a massive live energy, and highly relatable, self-deprecating lyrics about navigating anxiety and social phobias. Track number 3 is called Burning Down the Disco. This is a fascinating dance punk track that offers a huge dose of nostalgia while refusing to follow standard rock rules. It pairs a massive, dark main guitar riff with a surprisingly funky bass-driven groove in the verses before hitting a characteristically explosive Shinedown chorus. Number 4 is titled 365. This is a mid-tempo album that pulls back on the heavy distortion to lean into a lighter synth-assisted touch. Lyrically, it targets the collective human experience of navigating daily grief and persistence. It serves as a beautiful, cathartic breath of fresh air early in the track list. Track number 5 is titled Young Again. This is a highly melodic, synth-led track where Brent Smith looks back reflectively at his formative years. It carries a distinctly bittersweet, melancholic undertone, but keeps the momentum moving forward with an incredibly infectious, radio-ready chorus. Track number 6 is Dizzy. The band at their most vulnerable, Dizzy kicks off gently with strings and a soft bass drum, treating love like a religious experience. It gradually builds into a massive, fist-pumping anthem tailored perfectly for stadium sing-alongs. Track number 7 is called Imposter. Diving deep into the themes of mental health and self-doubt, this track is driven by a dominant, thumping bass line from Eric bass. While the chorus leans heavily into audience participation with relatable pleas, it keeps the mood grounded and introspective. Number 8 is titled Machine Gun. This is a pure, relentless melodic bulldozer. The band cranks the tempo back up here, dropping massive hook after massive hook, while Barry Kirch's driving percussion supports a fierce, multi-layered vocal attack from Smith. Number 9 is titled Outlaw. This is a haunting, dusty acoustic ballad that marks one of the most stark, stylistic departures on the record. Drenched in light orchestration and a gritty, old-school Americana vibe, it sounds like a track that could heavily been covered by Johnny Cash. Track 10 is called Safe and Sound. This is a pure, euphoric, fist-in-the-air energy that feels like a spiritual successor to The Sound of Madness. Fast-paced and abrasive, it features a fiery guitar solo from Zach Myers and a sharp, potentially politically charged lyrical bite. Track 11 is titled Searchlight. This is a true standout of the album's back half that pushes the band's boundaries into country rock, blues, and bluegrass territory. Complete with a stripped-back arrangement featuring banjo, steel guitar, and fiddle, it tells an emotional story about leaving childhood behind. Track number 12 is called Bear With Me. Shinedown dives headfirst into this alternative indie rock terrain here. Zach Myers delivers angular, rhythmic guitar riffs, while Smith plays a rare, sarcastic edge in his vocal delivery. Number 13 is titled Deep End, the most experimental and synthetic track on the album. Darker in tone and driven almost entirely by rapid, pulsing electronic synths rather than the traditional guitar walls, it proves how much room the band gave themselves to play with new textures on this record. Number 14 is titled Killing Fields. Arguably the heaviest, most aggressive moment on 8. Drenched in malice, frustration, and jagged riffs, it brings back the venomous, raw vocal grit of the band's early days, but executes it with a much tighter, modern production focus. Track number 15 is titled Wide Open. This track recaptures the band's classic, big arena sing-along quality. It uses a slightly synthetic bridge texture to bridge the gap between the album's experimental middle section and the anthemic hard rock they are known for. Number 16 is called Back to the Living. This is a cinematic gradual builder that relies heavily on atmosphere. Starting with just Smith's vocals over a bedding of synths, it takes its time layering the instruments before bursting into a gorgeous, triumphant chorus and a sensational guitar solo. Track 17 is called So Glad That You Asked. This is a somber, hushed, and deeply reflective ballad. It features some of the most open and raw lyrics on the album, anchored beautifully by Eric Bass's elegant piano work. It builds beautifully when the drums finally kick in, balancing intimacy with rock scale. And finally, track 18 is called The Pilot. The curtain comes down quietly, stripping away the massive production, the synths, and the heavy riffs, and the album closes gently with nothing more than an acoustic guitar and Brent Smith's voice, leaving a lasting, intimate final impression. At 18 tracks, 8 is an absolute meal of an album. It successfully honors Shinedown's arena rock roots while giving them the runway to experiment with country, synth rock, and theatrical arrangements. So thank you for listening to this week's podcast, album review of Shinedown's newest album. To break it down, it's a pretty good album. I enjoy listening to it. I've been listening to it for, since it came out a couple Fridays ago. Yeah, give it a listen, give it a shot, and so I guess that's it for this week's episode. Again, thank you for listening, and don't forget to follow on Instagram YouTube, and now TikTok. Thank you, and have a good week. Bye.